Hello friends, myself Dr. Veena's Academic here. Today with new topic from the nursing research. Again, this is most important and most applicable topic from nursing research, that is hypothesis. So today we are going to see about the hypothesis. Initially we will see a little bit about the theoretical part of the hypothesis. Then I'll explain the examples of hypothesis, and then we will discuss some of the MCQs which are most important and applicable for the hypothesis. So today's session will be basically only for hypothesis, and which is most important step of nursing research process. So let us start with today's topic, that is hypothesis. So before we start the topic, let me clear about the difference between the hypothesis and assumption. Many times what happens, students get confused with the assumption and hypothesis. Hypothesis is always used for the experimental study, whereas the assumption is used for the non-experimental study. But today we are going to see about hypothesis. So let us start with the today's topic, that is hypothesis. So what is the meaning of hypothesis? So when we go to the different definition of hypothesis according to different research textbooks, so hypothesis, it is a nothing but it is a one type of statement or prediction or predicted statement where we can say the relationship between different variables under the study. When we see that there are different variables, that means there is a independent variable, dependent variable, we can say the researchable variables, there are different variables, and it is a relationship between the different variables under the study we see under the hypothesis. So what do you mean by hypothesis? It is a relationship. It is a statement format. There is specific format of writing the hypothesis where we can see the relationship or difference between variables under the study. So this is the meaning of hypothesis. Hypothesis is always related to, like we can say, connected with the objective of the study and the outcome of the research study. When we see the objectives of the study, it is directly correlating with the hypothesis. So there are different hypotheses depending on the objectives and the outcome of the research study. When we say the hypothesis is basically depending on the variables, different important variables when the study is experimental. That is independent variable and dependent variable. For example, a study to assess the effect of hot application on the pain. A study to assess the effect of hot application on pain. So here the independent and dependent variable we need to identify. What is dependent variable? Pain. Pain is a dependent variable on which it is depend on the hot application. So hot application is an independent variable, whereas the pain is a dependent variable. So this way we should identify, when we write the hypothesis, we need to have the in-depth knowledge about the dependent variable and independent variable, which we need to find out from the problem statement, which is the most important part of the problem statement, that is independent variable and independent variable. Dependent variable is what? Dependent, again I will say, dependent variable which we observe from the variable, or we take the result from that particular or finding of that observer or finding of the samples, that is dependent variable. We have the measurement of that. So here independent variable, that means there is a control, or there is something we are going to change or control, or we can have a hold on that is independent variable. Okay, for example, like effect of hot application. Second thing, dependent variable, that is we are going to measure or we are going to have the result or analysis of that is a pain. So independent and dependent variables are, we need to find out from the problem statement, and it is always based on objective and then research study. When we say the how to write or what are the steps of writing the hypothesis, so there are specific steps of writing the hypothesis in experimental study. So hypothesis, first we need to ask the question, or we should have the problem statement in our hand, like what is the problem statement exactly. Second, we need to find out what is dependent variable and independent variable. So we need to find out that also. Next, we are going to put that hypothesis in the word or in the statement, that is formulating the hypothesis or phrasing the hypothesis. And next step is we need to analyze that. We need to study that statement or phrase, how we are going to formulate, whether this is like tested, not tested, or it is under the degree or under the level of significance. So we need to frame or phrase that hypothesis, and again we need to reanalyze whether it is framed appropriately as per the objective or as per the study outcome, and then we need to write down the null hypothesis or alternative hypothesis. So we will see this with some of the examples, how we are going to write the hypothesis in experimental study. So this is an example of hypothesis. So previously we used to write there are two types of hypothesis, that is a alternative hypothesis and second is null hypothesis. Alternative hypothesis is H1 and then null hypothesis H0. So what is alternative hypothesis? Like for example, there will be a significant effect of demonstration on the knowledge and practices regarding ECG among the staff nurses. So this is a alternative hypothesis. And second example, there will be a significant effect of video assisted teaching on knowledge and practices regarding the ECG among staff nurses. So these two examples for the alternative hypothesis, that is prediction, or we can say there is a chances of having the effect of demonstration on the knowledge and practices among the staff nurses. Again, this is again directing to the objective of the study. Even second example, effect of video assisted teaching on the knowledge and practices regarding ECG. So this was a study done by one of the master student of my master student. So this alternative study reflect directly to the objective or testing the outcome of the study. What is null hypothesis? Example of null hypothesis, there will be no significant effect of demonstration on knowledge and practices regarding ECG among the staff nurses, and there will be no significant effect of video assisted teaching on the knowledge and practices regarding ECG among the staff nurses. So this gives the null hypothesis. That means there is no effectiveness of the video assisted teaching and demonstration. Whereas the alternative hypothesis, we can say there is a positive effect of demonstration and video assisted teaching on the knowledge and practices. So this is a like framework, or we can say phrasing of the hypothesis, that is alternative hypothesis and null hypothesis, which we can see in the example. So next example, again very simple example. There is no difference in knowledge score after the health education on prevention of diabetic mellitus and its complication. After giving the health education, there is no difference or there is a difference. So this is a new method of writing the hypothesis, that is H01 and H02, where we write the hypothesis as per the protocol of the research methodology and then ethical committee this way. Previously we used to write the alternative hypothesis and null hypothesis both, as we have seen in the previous slide. But this slide, example 2, that is there is no difference. There is no difference of insulin technique after demonstration of correct technique, or there is no difference of knowledge after the health education on the prevention of diabetic mellitus and its complication. That means nowadays we write only the null hypothesis, again based on the objectives. One more example for hypothesis. Presently we write the format of writing the hypothesis, framing the hypothesis this way. There is no difference in muscle cramp score of the experimental group and the control group after the intradialectic aerobic exercise. So here also no difference of the muscle cramps. There is no difference in the muscle cramps after the giving the intradialectic exercises, experimental also and control group. Here there are two groups, experimental group and control group. So H01, and there is no difference, there is no association between the muscle cramp score and the selected demographic variables in both groups. So nowadays in the current scenario we write the hypothesis for the association also. So there is no difference of the muscle cramp. We can divide this into H01 and H02, H03 also, for the control group separately and for experimental group separately, and where as the association also we need to write the hypothesis, and then this hypothesis is tested at the 0.0 level of significance. So this is a way we write the hypothesis for the experimental study. So this is the third example, current example, the framing of hypothesis this way for the experimental group and control group and for association. Now we will see some of the multiple choice questions in the study. Basically we need to understand the concept. So let us start with some of the multiple choice question. So you can see on the screen multiple choice question and the statement 1. A statement of the expected relationship between two or more variables is known as. So what is the statement expected relationship between two or more variables known as we have seen in the definition, that is called as hypothesis. So this is a meaning of hypothesis, that is it is a relationship. This is a relationship between the two variables or more than two variables. For example, like again independent variable and dependent variable. Same example I will give you. If there is a hot application and pain, so effect of hot application on pain, that is again dependent and independent variable. So we can say this is a relationship between two or more than two variables. One more example, like if more than two variables, that means the effect of hot application on pain and then tenderness, pain and swelling. So this is more than two variables. So correct answer for this is hypothesis. Second MCQ, which of the following statement represent the complex hypothesis? Which of the following statement represent complex hypothesis? So options are, there is significant positive correlation between year of experience and level of nurse's job satisfaction. Male patients have higher satisfaction with the nursing care compared with their female counterparts. And next option is social support, balanced diet and regular exercise decreases the incidence of postpartum depression. So here we can see the option C is the correct answer, where there is a social support, balanced diet, regular exercise. There are more than two complex variables, where we can say it is a complex hypothesis. Complex hypothesis. So third one is a correct answer, as there are number of variables are more than two variables, which is called as a complex hypothesis. Next MCQ is, which of the following pairs contain hypotheses that are similar to each other? Which of the following pairs contain hypotheses that are similar to each other? And options are simple and complex, associative and casual, directional and casual, and null and complex. So here we need to concern about the pair contain hypothesis. Pair contain hypothesis. That means there is a associative and casual. Associative, associated with something. Associative and casual. This is the correct answer for this MCQ. Next MCQ number 4. Relaxation therapy is more effective than standard patient education alone in decreasing preoperative anxiety is an example of. So example is given, relaxation therapy is more effective than the standard patient education along in decreasing the preoperative anxiety is an example of. Is it null hypothesis, it is non-directional hypothesis, or complex hypothesis? The answer is directional hypothesis. It is giving direction, or it is towards the direction. That is, relaxation therapy is more effective than the health education for the patient to relieve the anxiety. So rather than the education, health education, patient will take the relaxation therapy and it will be more beneficial for the patient. So it is giving direction to the relieving the anxiety preoperatively with the relaxation therapy rather than talking and giving education. That is directional hypothesis. So correct answer is hypothesis, that is directional hypothesis. Next is, there is no difference in the incidence phlebitis around intravenous cannula change every 72 hours. Those change at 96 hours in an example of. So you need to read this statement very carefully. That is 72 hours. Cannula change every 72 hours and those change at the 96 hours. So what is the correct answer? Correct answer is null hypothesis. There is no difference. There is no difference in incidence of phlebitis and around intravenous change. So there is no difference. That means it is a null hypothesis. There is no effectiveness. There is no difference. That is a null hypothesis, a correct answer. Whereas the incorrect answers are directional hypothesis, non-directional and simple hypothesis. So correct answer for this MCQ 5 is null hypothesis. MCQ number 6, that is research hypothesis R. You need to find out what are the research hypotheses here. Already answers are given here, highlighted with the red color. So formulated prior to a review of literature, statement of predicted relationship between variables, stated such that they can confirm or refuted and believe out any natural phenomena. And correct answer is again statement of predicted relationship between variables. Already we have seen the research hypothesis is it is again prediction of the relationship between the different variables. This is the correct answer. Seventh hypothesis is qualitative research studies. Usually and options are very specific and stated prior to beginning of the study. Second, are often generated as data are corrected, interpreted and analyzed, are never used, and last one are always stated after the research study has been completed. So hypothesis is a qualitative research studies usually often generated at the data collected and interpreted and analyzed because it is tested at the end of the study after the analysis of the research study. After the analysis we will come to know whatever hypothesis we have formulated after testing whether it is proved, it is fulfilled the criteria, whether it is analyzed, and after analyze only we can interpret whether it is generated or it is tested at the level of 0.05 level of significance. So correct answer is B, are often generated at the data are collected and interpreted and analyzed. And then that time we write that whatever hypothesis, like there is a difference or there is a no difference at the level, what we write initially there will be a difference between, but at the result, after the analysis, what we write, there was a result, there was a effectiveness of so and so. So correct answer is B. MCQ 8, the statement of the belief and idea which are considered to be true as known as. So again read the statement carefully. The statement of beliefs and ideas which are considered to be true are known as. It is called as assumption. Correct answer is assumption. So, and incorrect answers are hypothesis, conceptual definition and operational definition. So assumption, because there is no formulation of proper hypothesis. This is only plain statement, prediction we can say. And how we write the hypothesis, there is no difference, there is difference, there will be difference. So this is the way there is this framing is assumption. So correct answer is assumption for this MCQ number 8. Next is a MCQ number 9, which is following is not a component of hypothesis. This is not the component, which is not the component of hypothesis. So we say the hypothesis is based on dependent variable. As I said, it is having the dependent variable, independent variable and then study population. But extraneous variable, where it comes extraneous variable, it always comes under the demographic variables like age, education, sex, occupation, gender and all these things. So here the extraneous variables which are not under directly to the study, not under the objective of the study or not representing in the statement. So which is not part of the hypothesis. So correct answer which is not component of the hypothesis, that is extraneous variables. MCQ number 10, mainly we can say the main purpose of considering delimitation in the research study is. The main purpose of considering delimitation in the research study is to predict the relationship between variables, to define the scope of research study, to express the belief and idea about the phenomena under the study, and fourth one, to define the variables in the measurable terms. So what is the correct answer? To define the scope of research study. The main purpose of the delimitations in the study mainly to define the scope of research study, to define the importance of research study. That is the correct answer. 11 number, which of the following may be considered as a characteristics of the good hypothesis? We can say there are different characteristics of the hypothesis, which we can say the conceptual, clarity, empirical reference, objectivity. These all are the characteristics of the good hypothesis, and answer is all of the above. These all are applicable to the good characteristics of the good hypothesis. Next is, which of the following cannot be considered as a source of hypothesis? So theoretical framework, previous research finding, consultation with an expert, real life experience, which is, so options are 4, where the incorrect answer is consultation with an expert. So which of the following cannot be considered as a source of hypothesis? So consultation with the expert comes under the validity, which is not a part of hypothesis. So correct answer is C, consultation with an expert. Next, there is a relationship between year of nursing experience and job satisfaction among the nurses is an example of. Again, this is a answer of non-directional hypothesis. Okay, so correct answer is non-directional hypothesis. So relationship between the year of nursing experience and job satisfaction among the nurses. So there is a relationship, nursing experience and job satisfaction. So example, this is a non-directional hypothesis. We can say correct answer is non-directional hypothesis. 14 number, assumption is generally used in which the following type of research study? So mainly assumption, as initially I explained difference between the assumption and hypothesis. Hypothesis always framed in the study, that is experimental study, whereas the assumption will be in the non-experimental study. So again, this statement says assumption are generally used in for the which type of study? So experimental research, quasi-experimental study and case control study, which are not the correct answer, whereas the correct answer is exploratory research, which is the one of the type of non-experimental study. So A is the correct answer for this. Next is there is a supernatural power that governs this universe is an example of which of the following type of assumption? Again, universal assumption. So there are different types of assumption. So universal assumption is a correct answer for this, whereas the theoretical assumption, warranted or unwanted assumption, they are incorrect. So, but the correct answer is universal assumption for this answer. So this was a 15 MCQs where I have highlighted the important aspects with the answer key for mainly hypothesis. So hope you understood the topic about the hypothesis, little bit about the theoretical part, then the few of the examples of hypothesis and some of the MCQs. So thank you for watching this video and hope you understood the topic. Any doubts or any clarification, you can just text me or you can write in the comment box, so I can answer your questions. Thank you for watching this video.